In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the AC condenser on this BMW 328i. Let's get into it. Before you start this job, you're going to need to bring the vehicle to a local shop to have the AC refrigerant removed from the vehicle. Using a 8mm socket, we want to take these screws out. Take this panel down. Some screws on the side. And drop the panel and slide it down. After you take the shield off, you want to take a straight blade screwdriver and have a drain bucket underneath. You want to make sure the vehicle's cold while you're doing this. Do not do this while the vehicle's hot. I'll just drain the coolant. I'll take the reservoir cap off. It's going to allow the coolant to drain out. Take the drain plug, get that lined up. And just snug that up. It's good. Using a T25 socket, take the screw out. Grab the hose. You might want a drain bucket underneath just in case some more coolant comes out. Slide it out. Just a little bit. Using the T25 socket, take this screw out. And the cooler is going to separate from the fan. You can just push that aside. On the other side, we're going to pop this hose off. Just use a pick, get underneath the little clip. Just pry that clip out. If you can get it to stay in service mode, you can do that, or you can just take the clip off completely. And just pry the hose out. And again, just a drain bucket underneath just in case a little coolant comes out. Slide that out. Loosen up the worm clamp right here on the airbox. Just use a straight blade screwdriver. Disconnect the connector. I'm just going to use a pick, get under the tab. It's for the mass airflow sensor. Slide that off, just like that. And then you can pull the snorkel off as well if you can reach it. There should be 2 bolts right here. You want to take those out. Use a 10mm socket. Take the other one out as well. You can slide the airbox off, take the snorkel off. And it slides right out. Disconnect the connector, just push down on the tab, slide that out, move that wire out of the way. It's fine right there. We're going to take this hose off the reservoir, just using a pick, slide underneath, slide the clip up, pop that off. Just using a trim tool, you can pop these retainers out. Oh, sometimes they break. And the upper radiator hose, just use a pick, get under the clip, slide that up. And just rock it back and forth, try to slide it out. There we go. Slip that off. And we're going to take it off here as well, just to move it out of the way more. Use a pick. Slide that clip out. That comes off. And just slide this out of the way. Disconnect this tube that goes to the air pump. Just push on the two sides and that comes up. There's a nut right here. We're going to take that off. Use a 10mm socket. And grab the bracket and the filter, slide it out. We're going to disconnect this connector. I'm just going to use a pick. Just get underneath here, under the clip, slide that connector out. Grab the connector, we're just going to twist it, and it slides right out. I'm using a T25 socket. Take this screw out. Take that out. There's a tab on this side. You want to push that tab out. You just push it towards the back of the vehicle. And then grab the fan and slide the fan assembly up. And it comes right out. Using a pick, we're gonna disconnect this radiator hose. Just slide the clip out. Grab the hose, give it a wiggle, slide that off. If you want, you can disconnect this connector. Just push down on the tab, slide that off. And just wiggle it back and forth. It is plastic, so be careful. A little bit of coolant is coming out. Now I'm using a T25 socket. Take the screws out on the top of the radiator. Just grab the top of the radiator, tip it out a little bit, pull up. Get the hose out of the way. Make sure the cooler's out of the way. It slides right up. Using a 6mm hex socket, take these bolts out for the AC lines. And there shouldn't be any refrigerant in there because you had it removed before you started the job. Just pull that out a little bit. It's always a good idea to wear safety glasses when you're doing this. You might hear a little hiss. That's a vacuum. That's not from any refrigerant. Pull that off. Move that hose out of the way. Do the same with this other one. Slide that one out of the way. Using a T25 socket, take this screw out. You want to remove this clip, just taking a pick, or you could use a straight blade screwdriver, just under the center. You want to lift up and then just pry it out. There's a little tab right there, and then it slides out. Then grab the condenser, slide it towards the driver a little bit, and it comes right out. Take the roll pin, I'm just going to hold it with a pair of pliers, then use some larger pliers. We're just going to squeeze this in. Just press that in. Do the same on the other one. The pins are in. Now we're just going to add about an ounce of oil, the correct AC oil. You can go back and forth. Just try to put equal amounts in. Just about an ounce. Now slide this in place. Just get the hoses out of the way. Now take the screw, get that started. Snug that down. It's a good idea to replace these seals, but these ones look pretty good. So we're just going to put a little AC oil on those seals. Line those up. Push the lines in. Get the bolts started. Now we're going to torque these to 14 foot-pounds. And take the radiator, and slide it in place. Just move the hose down below. Just get the bottom in place and then push it forward. Looks good. Take the bolts, get the bolts started, and snug those down. With this hose, I'm just going to take the clip, put the clip back on, and just lock that in place. Slide the hose on the radiator and just lock it down. Take the fan assembly and we'll slide it down in place. Just make sure the cooler's out of the way down below. And if you have that wire over on the passenger side, you want to make sure that's clear. that in place. That's good. I'm going to put this screw in and tighten that down. Snug that down. Take this connector, just twist it, line that up, lock that in place. You can connect the connector for that. Take this connector, there you go, that's locked down. And the connector for the fan, plug that in. Push the wires into the retainers. Now take this, make sure you push down on the clamps for the upper radiator hose. Get that lined up. Click that in place. Do the same on this side. Lock that down. This hose is going to attach over here. Actually disconnect connector for the fan, slide that on the other side, then connect the connector. You should push those tabs there and there. Push those in, push down on the lock, and slide that into the reservoir. And take this filter, slide this in place, lock it down, put the nut on. And tighten that down. Now take the air box, line that up, and slide it over the snorkel. Make sure it goes on completely. And we'll tighten the worm clamp down. Snug that down. You can use the straight blade screwdriver or a 1/4-inch socket. Connect the connector for the mass airflow sensor. Put the screws in here. There should be 2. Get those started. Snug those down. Now take the clip, we're going to reinsert it on this lower hose. Slide the hose onto the radiator. Make sure it clips in place. It's good. Take the cooler, line it up. There is a slot that the little tab goes in up top. And put the screw in. Tighten that screw down. Snug that down. Now take this hose, line that up, put a little silicone on the O-ring. Push that in place. Take the screw, get the screw started, and I'll snug that down. I'll slide this panel in place. Get the bolt started. Now tighten those down. You take a straight blade screwdriver. I'm going to loosen up the bleeder screw here for the coolant. Using a funnel, you can add the appropriate coolant. Make sure it's the correct mixture, 50-50 water to coolant. You can tell when it's full, there is a gauge right here that comes up. So you want to make sure, check on the side of the tank to the key to make sure it's at the appropriate mark. And you can close the bleeder screw. Make sure that gauge is in the appropriate spot. This vehicle, it's broken, so it's broken off down there, but this looks fine here. Put the cap on. And then we're going to start the bleed procedure inside the car. Now we're going to put the key in the on position, but don't start the vehicle. And you want the HVAC on the lowest setting as far as the blower goes, and turn the heat all the way up. And then we're going to hold the gas pedal all the way to the floor for 10 seconds. All right. The water pump is electric, so the computer is going to command the electric water pump to cycle through and pump out all the air so that it bleeds out the system. You can hear the water pump doing its thing. It's cycling, pushing the air through, and it's going to do this for about 10 minutes. After that, you can just shut the vehicle off and you should be good to go. It's also a good idea to have a battery charger connected to the battery just so that the battery doesn't drain. After you're done, you're going to need to bring the vehicle back to the shop where you had the refrigerant removed and reinstall the refrigerant.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.